Shaibou Abdoulai Hadji. I'm a lecturer here in the Faculty of Education, University of Yaoundé 1. And I had my PhD in Korea University in Educational Technology back in the 2018. Then after my PhD, I worked as a research professor in the same university in the Institute of Educational Research. Then I also taught in 2 international schools in Korea. The first school that I taught is Gangnam International School, where I taught advanced placement chemistry and physics for a period of almost 2 years. Then after Gangnam International School, I went to another school, which is also one of the top schools in Korea, which is known as Kyunghee Academic of Foreign Languages. There I taught International Baccalaureate program in chemistry and theory of knowledge. Okay, back in 2012, when I had my master's in the University of Buea, I did master's in curriculum studies, and my research focused on ICT integration in teaching. So I had to do research to see where I can further my study with respect to educational technology, because there was no specialist by then in Cameroon to the best of my knowledge in that field. So I started researching on schools that offer educational technology. I noticed that there are schools in US, there's school in Korea. Then in that same year, I saw the Korean government scholarship, which I saw it a bit late. I saw in the month of March, which was the deadline. The deadline was around 20th of February. So I had to prepare for 1 year to say, okay, I need to apply for this scholarship. So in 2013, when they launched the program, I noticed that there are 2 modes of applying for the Korean government scholarship program, which is a fellowship program. Either you are selected by the university or you are selected by the embassy. Unfortunately for us in Cameroon, up to date, the embassy does not have the capability of recommending fellows for KJSP. So I had to contact the university. So I had to do further research to see which are those universities that offer program educational technology. Then, since I'm coming from University of Buea, we call it a place to be. I also have to look for one of the best university in Korea. I saw 3 universities in Korea that they call them Sky University. We have Seoul National University, we have Korea University that takes the K, and we have Y, which is Yonsei University. Then I look at the program for educational technology. In Seoul National University, they had only masters, they had no PhD by then. Then Korea University had a PhD in educational technology. Then I wrote to the coordinator of the school, at the same time the head of department for educational technology, Professor Enho Park, my interest, and to my greatest surprise, he replied to me asking me to send my credential. He went through my credential. He told me that, okay, based on my credential, I can apply for admission to Korea University. So I decided now to apply directly to Korea University for PhD in educational technology. So when we applied through the university after some time, the application was submitted in the month of February 2020, that's 2013. Then the first results came out in April that same year, and I was shortlisted for interview. I had my interview. The interview was conducted by the president of Korea University itself, the dean of the faculty of the Graduate School of Education, and Professor Enho Park himself, who I first contacted. And after the interview, they told me to cross my finger and wait. Then in June, I had that scholarship. And that year, I was fortunate to have 3 scholarships. I had the Korean government scholarship, I had the Hong Kong government scholarship, and I have the Turkish government scholarship. So I had to now make a choice. And in Turkey, I was given an opportunity to do measurement and evaluation in education, but my interest lies on educational technology. So I decided to move to Korea. So in August 2013, I left Cameroon to Korea. So when we reached Korea, before even traveling to Korea, it was a bit challenging. The government, because the Korean government paid everything, they paid our flight, and then they paid our flight through Air France. So we went through Air France, we confirmed our ticket. The day that we had to take off, we were 2 of us for PhD, 5 masters from Cameroon. The Air France told us that we cannot travel by Air France, we need a Shanghai visa. So it was already above time, so we had to they asked us to take another flight. They canceled the flight from Air France. We went through Ethiopian Airlines. Then 7 Cameroonians, 2013, we were sent to 7 different institutions to study Korean language. And I was sent to Halim University in Chuncheon, where I spent 1 year studying Korean language before I moved now to Seoul in Annam-do, Korea University, where I did my PhD from end of 2014 to 2018. The answer is absolutely yes. There is a room for Cameroonians to secure decent job in Korea, but it comes with certain challenges. The first thing is that Korean job market is competitive, and the preference is first given to Koreans. For Cameroonians or foreigners to have job that field means that there is no Korean who can perform the same. So that is one of the things. Secondly, in Korea is show me your university and I will tell you your future. The fact that anybody, irrespective of your country that you're coming from, you graduate from the Sky University, we're talking of S for Seoul National University, K for Korea University, Y for Yonsei University, your future is guaranteed in terms of the job market. So your university will be one factor that will determine your job. Secondly, the competitiveness of the job market. But when you get into field like IT, engineering, language education, if you want to teach English language or French, as a Cameroonian, if you graduate from a recognized university in Korea, you will be having opportunity to teach. And in order to teach, another thing is that networking. Networking is very critical. Because when you attend job fair, they always organize job fair for people to know these are opening, this company are looking for workers, and if you have the required credential, you'll be given a job. Then another thing too, that's very important in Korea is alumni association. If you go to any company and the president of that company happen to be an alumni of your university, automatically you have that job. So that one too is very important. Then thirdly, proficiency in Korean language. Once you have high level of proficiency in Korean language, it's going to increase your chances of getting a decent job. I can say when it comes to difficulties working there, since I studied there, I did not face major difficulties per se, because the first thing is that having studied in Korea University, I already know the campus, I know the people that I work with, they already know me. Then when I went to teach in Gangnam International School, it's an international school as well, I meet people from different countries and we accept each other's differences. So there was no major challenge that I can say in the workplace. But the main challenge that I can tell anybody who want to work after studying Korea is that issue of language barrier. Because if you are not proficient in Korean language, the first thing that you're going to face challenges in your job place, because there are terminologies that they are using. Even if they are speaking English, there are certain terminology that you need the Korean language. Then in order to interact in the job place, there's another need for Korean language. Then there's another aspect of work-life balance. It's an issue because the working hours in Korea is not like we are thinking. If you are working, if it is 8 hours, it's 8 hours. You cannot do the way we do here, that you go to work 3 hours, you disappear on Monday, you appear on Wednesday. No. So you need to know how to balance your work. If you are working there, you are working. You cannot be a worker today, tomorrow unavailable. So you must always be there. So those are some of the things that I can say anybody who is working can face as challenges. But in terms of the working climate, the working condition, the workplace, just like a family. You people work together, you go out together, coffee break, you move as a group with their friends, depending on how open you are with them. So the environment is really friendly and working is really good. There's no major challenges. Okay, the 5 important things that any Cameroonians who wish to study in Korea, they have to consider. The first one is that the issue of language barrier. Uh, Korean is the primary language of instruction and daily life in Korea, although many universities offer courses in English, which you can study without any problem. But in terms of interaction with the locals, in terms of moving around, navigating your daily life, accessing services, there's a need for you to be proficient in basic Korean language. The second thing that any Cameroonian who wish to further study in Korea has to consider is a cultural adjustment. Korea is a country that is deeply rooted in the culture and tradition. This issue of hierarchy, respect is very important. A senior is always a senior. You have to take note of that. And I can give a clear example. I've lived in a dormitory with, I have a roommate that is a Japanese. I've stayed with a Japanese for 1 year. He never called me by my name. He called me Hyung because he believed I'm a senior. I also live with an Australian who people think that English culture, as far as he found himself in Korea, he has to respect that hierarchy. An elder is always an elder. So anybody who is going to study in Korea, have to take note that that cultural adjustment must be done. If you don't respect your elders, you have to know that in that society, respect is important. The third thing is academic pressure. Korean education is known as one of the most rigorous and competitive education globally. So if you want to study in Korea, you have to know that the expectation is very high. And I used to tell students that below 70 in Korea is a fail. If you are studying in Korea, any course you have below 70%, just know that you failed that course. So if you have to study, just know that you have to be prepared for intense academic studies. Then the fourth thing is cost of living. In a city like Seoul, I've lived in Seoul, and in terms of even if you are not on scholarship, you can afford school fees. But housing, feeding, there are some of the things that are transportation, there are some of the things that are really expensive, so you have to think about that. And lastly, we are talking of social integration. Building social network with Koreans can be very, very challenging because for them to trust international students is not as easy as you think. But once you have a proficiency in the language can really break the barriers. But you have to be proactive when you want to join any student group because you need to attend events. If you are somebody who play football, you can easily have friends who play footballs with you. If you are somebody who like drinking, then you can have friends where you people can drink. But just know that the language aspect is also important. So those are the 5 important things that anybody who wants to study in Korea should think about. Yeah, this question, I can say now. When we talk of Cameroonian cultures, Korea happened to be a monocultural environment, one culture. In Cameroon, we have multicultural. We have about 250 ethnic groups. They have different culture. But when we look at similarities, I can say yes, there are a lot of similarities. The first one I can say, as I talk about the challenges, is issue of respect. Respect for elders. Both Cameroonian culture, irrespective of the culture we find ourselves in Cameroon, that respect for elders is always there. So it is always reflected in the language. Like in Korean, the language that you speak, the way you ask a child whether he has eaten is different from the way you ask an elder whether he has eaten. These are two different things. So somebody has to know the difference. The way you ask a child whether he has gone to sleep and an elder whether he has gone to sleep, there's a difference. So there's issue of, in the Korean language, they talk of There's Pammal, which is normal way of speaking Korean. Then there is a hierarchical way. When you meet a senior and a junior, just from the communication, you understand. So that's important. Now, another thing too that's important in the Korean culture, which is similar to Cameroon, is importance of family. Family in both culture are very important. Family gathering is obligatory. Anytime that you have a family meeting, you are forced to go to the village to attend. Same with Korea. So there's expectation to support family members is very important, which is same with Cameroon. Then another thing is community oriented. Korean happen to be a country that I can say most of the things, their language. In Korea, there's no I in the language. They don't say my house, they say our house. They don't say my school, they say our school. They don't say my country, it's Wori. Anything that you hear in Korea is Wori Nara, Wori Napion. Even your husband, you don't say my husband, you say our husband. So that community of orientation is the same thing that, let's say, when you look at the Anglophone culture in Cameroon, it's more of community oriented, which is similar to that of the Koreans. Then another thing which is similar, especially the grassroots of Cameroon with Koreans, is traditional celebration. Koreans, just like us, they have festivals to celebrate that bring communities together, like food festival, like music festivals, dances. So we share those culture in common. Of course, when it comes to universal culture, I can say that Korea has played an important role, and they're still doing it, because when you look at the issue of Korean pop culture, which have K-pop, K-drama, Korean cuisine. I don't know whether, have you ever eaten kimchi? You should try. There's a kimchi restaurant here in Bastos. Okay, so Korean cuisine, they have their own food, which really, if anybody who goes to Korea, or last time in the embassy, I asked them when they will prepare what we call yangnyeong chicken, they should always invite me. That's one of their cuisine that I think that they have. Then issue of when we talk of cosmetic, whether normal cosmetic or plastic surgery, Korea is the best. So the issue of beauty standard, Koreans are really moving around. Then when it comes to technology, when we talk of Samsung, it's Korean. We talk of LG, it's Korean. In terms of automobiles, when we talk of Hyundai car, you know, people call them Hyundai, it's Korean. Kia is Korean. Sorento for Kia. Then when we talk of Sanyong, Korean. So Koreans have gone far in terms of their position in the development of universal culture, being that social aspect, the economic, or the technological aspect. Yeah, there are certain aspects of Korean culture that really influence me. Among them is work ethic. In Korea, hard work is always emphasized. Dedication. When you go to Korean, for somebody who go to Korean to do unskilled work, the first language that you learn in Korean language is Pali. Pali means fast. When you are doing work, you need to be dedicated. You don't work and you are talking. For them, they consider that you people are not working. Then another thing that I respect, that I learned from Korea, is respect for education. The high regard for education that they have in Korea, academic achievement. As I said before, in Korea is show me your school or tell me where you study and I will tell you who you are. Once they know which university you are coming from, once they know your level of education, everybody will bow and respect you based on their level of education. So they respect education. That's why if a teacher, I used to tell teachers in Cameroon that if you find yourself in Korea, you'll be very fortunate as a teacher. Even if you have to travel, you go to a bus stop to pay, you pay one ticket, they give you 2 seats as a teacher, because they respect that level of education. Then another thing is that sense of community. Community building is important. As I said, in Korea, everything is us. It's not mine. It belongs to all of us. That's why the country is moving, because it is not my country, it's Worinara, our country, our community. So that sense of community is one of the things that I also learned in Korea. If we want to move forward, we need to take that type of philosophy with us. Then there's also, Koreans have their culture of pride. A Korean is always a Korean, wherever you find himself. Whether you find a Korean in US, you find a Korean in UK, he will always be happy to be a Korean. And that's one thing that I used to tell people, wherever I find myself, I'm a Cameroonian. Nothing will change that. So that's one of the things that I also learned from Korea. You need to accept your identity. Okay, so when you are, maybe to share some of the funny aspect of cultural shock that I encounter in Korea, mostly comes when it comes to aspect of food. The first thing is, when I first entered into a Korean restaurant, they serve you food that is having multiple minor dishes. They call it pancha. So you are confused. Which one should I start? You want to eat rice, they give you 10 things. You have the rice, you have kimchi, you have egg, you have... So that's one of the areas that I was really surprised. So it was like, which am I going to eat and which am I going to leave? But they eat everything. Then another thing, again, when it comes to food, is issue of the culture of eating sloppy noodles. Here we eat spaghetti, just no noodles. You come to my house, I have one of my first daughter was born in Korea. When she's eating noodles, you get it is sloppy. Make it. Here we eat food, you don't want to get noise. No, they are taking, and it is really something that you think like, hey, what is happening? Okay. Then another thing in Korea is that issue of personal space. In Korea, there's a concept of personal space which is different. Like us here, where you think that somebody is going out, there's a space for. No, in Korea, whether the prime minister is moving out, traffic continues. When you want to take subway, you see about 10,000 people I've never seen. Everybody is trying to get into the train. Those are some of the things that I was surprised. There is nobody, there's no hierarchy, which means that if you're working in the ministry, it's time to go in. There's no elevator for a director, for a sub-director, no. So those are some of the things that, the fact that the country is built on hierarchy in terms of language, when it comes to services, there's no toilet for VIP. A toilet is the same. When you come to eating, there's nothing like the director go first, second by... So those are some of the things that I can say that surprised me, where people take themselves as normal compared to our country here, when if the boss doesn't eat, the other people don't. Now when it comes to Korean dishes, like I said, Koreans have different types. Okay. As I said before, one of the cultural shock that I had was the first time you want to eat food, you have side dishes, we call them pancha. They're all minor. Okay. But in terms of different dishes, one of my favorite when I reached Korea, the challenge that I had was that the first thing is that I'm a Muslim, and the first thing we had, like, everything that you have to be careful not to eat pork, because everything in Korea there's pork. That's why halal market in Korea is one of the highest. So the first thing is to avoid that, we have to resort to be some sort of vegetarians. And then the first dish that we enjoy is what we call bibimbap. Bibimbap is just like our jollof rice here, but not just normal jollof rice. It is rice, vegetable, egg. So they have different types of bibimbap. There's the one that they call tuksu bibimbap. You know, you take the food while it's still hot in a hot pot. So you have bibimbap. Then we have there's one they call doenjang chicken, which is also good. Then, as I asked you to talk about kimchi, kimchi is always, it's radish, made from radish, always part of the side dish. Then, in terms of chicken, you have different ways in which they prepare that chicken. And one of the best chicken that I prefer is what they call yangnyeong chicken. It's made from honey. Just imagine a chicken grill with honey. And so, then they have, if there are people who eat pork, they have different types. Then they have there's also chicken sauce, what they call bulgogi, where you come and you have all the chicken inside. Then there's another one, I cannot recall the name of that dish, but they eat that dish in the month of August when it's very hot. And that dish, everyone has a full chicken. It means that you have a complete chicken they put the rice inside, everything. It means that they're dishing you complete full chicken you eat. So in terms of those types of things, Koreans have different dishes that can really address the need of everybody. If you are vegetarians, then you go by your bibimbap, you have no problem. Then if you want to eat beef, they have different types of. It is in Korea that I noticed that there is a market, a livestock market. Imagine a market that they sell only meat. Yes. Then they have fruit and vegetable market, Chongyani. There is only fruit and vegetable. Imagine moving from here to Acacia, inside fruit and vegetable market, no other things. Then restaurants are everywhere. When you buy food, the side dishes is more than the food that you buy. So for that one, the cuisine is something. Maybe next time, if I can remember the names of some of those food that they prepare in Korea, we can have more on the different types of dishes. Or preferably, we'll talk with the embassy. We'll have our next encounter in Kimchi restaurant in Bastos, where we'll talk about those dishes in present. I think that would be better.